Hi there and welcome to this channel. My name is Anya and I have a degree in fashion and textile design, and this is video 5 and the last video of making my wedding dress. I am so excited to finally show you the final dress and some snips and bits of our elopement in Majorca. And just to give you a quick preview, in this video we're gonna make the sleeves that we have been talking about since video 1, and I'm super excited because I think they really made the dress exactly as I envisioned it, exactly as it looked like in the sketch, and I am really happy to just show you that, and hopefully you will like it. But before we get into the sleeves, remember that in the previous video I tried on the dress and then realized that the whole dress was a bit too big, so I had to rip the whole thing apart, and that was a pretty traumatic experience. And now the first thing that I actually have to do is make those corrections and make the dress smaller so that it fits my body and my body type a bit more, so that it actually looks the way that I envisioned it. But I will have to admit it was pretty hard mentally, and of course I was exhausted because I have been working on this dress for the past, I don't know, 2 weeks and a half, 3, and I only had 1 week left, so I had to get right back to it and try fix it as fast as possible, now with the right measurements, making sure that the next time I put it on it's gonna look exactly as I want it. So what I did was, like I said before, ripped some seams apart. I had this very nice seamstress that had over 30 years of experience that was right there in the studio that kind of helped me with this part and guided me through it, because without her I don't know how I would do. So I just took in the part that needed it and was doing a lot of sewing and a lot of ripping and adjusting. And after I was happy with all the corrections, I put in the lining in the skirt part of the dress, finished the hem at the bottom, and the dress was finally done. And that was quite a relief because now I had 5 more days to focus just on the sleeves, and even if I wouldn't have them done, I would know that I have the dress that I can wear that works, and it just brought a peace of mind. I'm so super excited that now the only thing that is left are the sleeves, and I'm gonna get right into it right now, and I hope it turns out exactly the way that I wanted it and the way that I designed it. So let's check it out. I am so excited but also nervous because it's the last thing, so let's do it. Here's the base already positioned on this material that is see-through, which is what I envisioned for the sleeves, and then here it's the cuff that is gonna be part of the sleeves, and I just had to cut out the pattern pieces out of this fabric with, of course, a very specific seam allowance. And something different that happened here is that I didn't use the charcoal to draw the pattern pieces on the fabric, but I just positioned this gigantic pink blocks. These are actually super heavy, and what they do is keep the material and the sewing pattern in the same place so that I can cut them together. So that was really useful, and I think I will try to get them for my home usage also. Now here are all the pattern pieces cut out. You can see the big base, and then we have these 2 little straps, and one is for the cuff that is gonna go around the wrist, and the other one is for the bow, because that's how I will tie the sleeve together. Now, of course, the next step after having all the pattern pieces cut out was to pin them together face to face so that I will be able to sew them together with the sewing machine. The difference now was that I was just positioning the pattern pieces one on top of the other and measuring them by edges instead of making sure that I was following that line that I usually draw for all the pattern pieces. And now that all the pattern pieces were pinned together, I wanted to sew them together with the sewing machine. And what happened, of course, is the most cliche thing that can happen to you as a seamstress, which is I ran out of the thread in the bobbin, so I have to rewind it and wait for it to be ready for me to start sewing. And here we go, the sewing stage of the sleeves. This was actually way harder than what I thought it will be because the material was very delicate and it was the first time I was sewing something like this, so I didn't know what to expect. So to practice, I cut out a few pieces before I actually went and sewed the sleeves, just to see how the sewing machine reacts, how the fabric reacts, and to make sure that I'm not gonna make any big mistakes that would, of course, cost me time and money. Now here are the first seams that I did for the sleeve. They were the ones alongside the length, and then what I did was I cut the seam allowance a bit shorter because I was gonna do the French seams in the sleeves. Now, what is a French seam? A French seam is something that we use whenever we have a material that is see-through or delicate like this one, and it makes the stitch being hidden inside itself so that the final product looks nice. And if you're interested into how to create this French seam, I can make a separate tutorial about it, but very roughly, you make a seam and then you turn that seam around and create another seam to capture it inside, like a little tunnel. I hope that is understandable. I know that it sounds weird. So that is what I was doing here. And now here is the finished French seam. As you can see it right here, it's very flat and it looks really beautiful with this transparent material. Then here I'm also sewing those straps for the bows with the same technique of the French seam, which meant that I just made a normal stitch around 3 sides of this strap to combine the 2 layers. And of course I repeated the same process 4 times for all the 4 straps. Now you can see them right here. This first one is actually already finished because I just wanted to see how it looks like in the end. And the other 3 still need the second stage of that French seam process, which means I had to turn them around, like I'm doing it right here, and then pin it where that little seam allowance is, and then of course make that second seam that captures it and makes this strap flat. You can see here the straps with the pins before I sewed that second round. And then the next step was to take this cotton thread that is used for hand stitching, and what I did was I gathered the fabric for the sleeve so that it would be the same length as the cuff so that I can attach them together, and that gathering is gonna give me that puffy shape that I wanted and that you can see from the sketch. And then I did the same thing for this little piece that comes after the cuff. You can see it on the sketch right here. And this is how it looks like attached with the sewing machine. And now we will attach this whole little part to the sleeve. I know this sounds very messy and very complex, and I was freaking out a little bit, but once I sat behind the sewing machine and I just started sewing, it was not that bad. You can see that I am trying this little piece with a bow on my hand to see how it looks, and I was so excited when I saw how cute this was. And it's just gonna be such a beautiful detail on the dress. Of course, it goes without saying that I had to repeat the whole process twice because, of course, we have 2 sleeves. I was actually really surprised how fast I was progressing with the sleeves. I actually did them in a day and a half, the whole thing from start to finish. So I was super relieved and super happy because the sleeves were done still 3 days before we had to leave for Mallorca, where we will get eloped. And after I had my sleeves ready, it was time to insert them into the dress. And the way that I did it was a bit DIY. And I just kinda inserted them first with the pins and then went over it with hand stitching. So they were not actually inserted with the sewing machine, but just attached with the hand stitching on the floor of my bedroom, doing it the night before the flight and hurrying up, being all nervous for the wedding and the whole trip. And now I am so happy to finally share a little piece from our wedding. We are married! How exciting is that? I couldn't be happier. The wedding was everything and more that we envisioned, and I am so excited that the dress turned out the way that it did. It was really absolutely incredible, and it went so well with the whole scenery and the weather and the elopement, and just everything is just perfect. So I'm really excited. I hope you liked it too. And if you would like more wedding content or wedding dress content, let me know in the comments. This is something that I actually realized I really like doing, and I am thinking of maybe going more into the whole wedding dress design, maybe start designing wedding dresses for other people and making them. I don't know, right now that is just an idea and a dream and something that I'm really excited about. But let's see where life takes me, and hopefully you will be along for the ride and see the whole process and the whole journey of whatever happens. And that is it. If you are up to tagging along, please like this video and subscribe, leave me a comment, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!